Hello there.
All right, so welcome to our TSV session. This session is all about creativity, allowing Shahkahyah to write, color, along with a read-along story that E.T. Shai, her mother, I do with her. She also learns to do tracing, small worksheets that would help her form a better connection to her environment, also keep her cognitive skills focused, like help her develop that. And it also gives her a surety of a routine. So me forming this is kind of like helping her learn what routine is. So far I got started on her academic plan for today, which is our objective is Shahkahyah will increase cognitive skills through repetitive routine and visual or virtual learning to recognize images, photos, and shapes. She will learn to accurate form letters through tracing, through tracing and placing lines, activities, worksheets. So this is all about allowing her to express her eye and ear. So thank you, ladies and nice women gave us something that we can work on. So today is happily their holiday of the pagan holiday of Halloween. Honestly, we like it. When we were younger, we loved Halloween and Christmas. They were maybe like our best holidays that we would celebrate in the world, or our parents allowed us to. So it's pretty fun. I mean, you don't have to celebrate it. No one's forcing anybody to, but I'm just saying something fun you can do with the kids. It's just like good activities. You don't always have to go door to door or anything like that. Maybe form their own in-home activities and stuff like that. Is not a bad thing. So while we work on that, so we only got another hour, so I'm gonna get started on her book. So we're gonna finish doing the reason why I started over is because she was not really as focused as I wanted her to be last week when I was channeling and reading with her, and so I wanted her to be a little bit more focused today. So today we're gonna redo the Revolutionary Girl, which is the true story of a teenager who was a spy for George Washington. Okay. Oh, Mama, you're going pretty fast. Okay. One day during the winter of 1807, I was visiting my cousin in Pennsylvania during a terrible snowstorm. It was bitter cold and the wind was howling. My uncle had a large home made of logs, but their house mourned with the wind gusts. I was just 5 years old and I was frightened. So I was sure that the logs were going to blow away at any moment. And I think I briefly went over that. My father was a truck driver, and he could haul logs. And I remember, like I said, to bring it to our grandmother, she had a built-in fireplace, so he kind of helped her, have logs for the fire in the wintertime and stuff like that. I think the only bill that she ever had was like electric, like a utility. Everything else was home. For us, the house was built, the land was hers. So only thing they really had to worry about was, like I said, energy or utility bills. So that's the right thing about it. So it wasn't no much dependent on the system, because you could create your own food, have your land to plant your own food, build your own house. So that's kind of how some of the rural Louisianas just still survive, and they still do. So to this day, and probably a lot more southern territories, I'm not sure, but mainly Louisiana, definitely that land has a heritage. So it's not like the other southern states. They do get to still live, like I say, cabin life, trailer life, build things. Like they can survive through, like I said, government shutdowns or government operations. It's not really a need. And you know what? Like I said, it was bittersweet at the moment, but I appreciate my upbringing because it does give a strand that, you really don't learn anywhere else other than that land. So, it is what it is. So that's just a little bit about that. Here, Mom, I'll put your leaf right here on there, okay? All right, so, yeah, so my uncle had a large home made of logs, but their house mourned with the wind gusts. I was just 5 years old and I was frightened. I was sure that the logs were going to blow away at any moment. My Aunt Elizabeth Wilson was finishing up her work in the kitchen and did not seem bothered by the storm at all. She was always calm and wise. To my eyes, she was very old, right? Or she was very old. But probably all of her 50 years old at the time. When the house shook, she noticed that I was afraid. So she decided this was a given time or a good time to distract me and my cousins by telling us the story of her dangerous trip behind the British lines during the American Revolutionary War. Well, children, she said, come and sit by the fire. If you can listen quietly, I will tell you about my adventure as a spy. Or better yet, my adventure as being a witness. Here you go. Sweetie, Shahkahyah, calm down. It was 1776, the very beginning of the American Revolutionary War, and the British had captured all of New York City. General George Washington had retreated to White Plains, New York with his troops. General Thomas, an American general, was a prisoner in New York, but he had liberty to go anywhere in the city because he had given his parole or word of honor not to leave the city until permitted to do so by a discharge or a prisoner exchange. General Washington wanted to share some important information with him, but this could not be done without great hazard to the life of anyone who should attempt it. At that time, our family lived not far from General Washington's headquarters. As I discussed, the first headquarters was in Pennsylvania, and then we had a White House in New York, and now presently it's in Washington or Boston area, or in that territory. All right, one day an American officer came to our home and asked to see me. My mother called for me, and when I came to the door, the officer handed me a note. It was a note from General George Washington politely requesting me to call at his headquarters to the next day at 10 o'clock. Can you imagine my surprise? I was only 19 years old. After reading the note, I told the officer I would see the general the next day as I requested. He left, and I began to wonder what in the world George Washington or General Washington wanted of me. My whole family was a little anxious and afraid of what might happen the next day. That night it was a sleepless night for me. So I rose early in the morning and dressed myself in the best attire. At approximately 10 o'clock, I knocked at the general's residence. A servant appeared at the door, and I told him I wished to see George Washington. The general, who was nearby, heard my voice and immediately walked toward me smiling. He extended his hand and said, "You are Miss Wilson, I presume." You good? You got it, Mama? Okay, you can't keep on doing this. Here, you can get this one. You're pretty strong. You know how to open them for yourself. I replied, "Yes, I am the one to whom this note is addressed," and I showed him the note that was delivered to me the day before. "Please walk in, Miss Wilson, and take a seat," he said. "I am glad to see you, although I almost regret getting you involved in this matter. There is a dangerous enterprise, and I desire you to undertake." He held in his hand a sheet of paper that was 2/3 filled with writing. "I have a message of great importance." I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. Put that right over there. Okay, of great importance. Pick up where I left off. Okay, yeah. That I would like to have delivered to General Thomas in New York City. Miss Wilson, you have been most favorable, recommended to me as an educated, intelligent young woman or lady of cautious, prudent spirit, enduring, remarkable of your age and sex. On this account, I wish to engage your service in conveying this message, but it is a hazardous and a dangerous undertaking. If you should be detected with the message in your possession, you would be hung or shot. The British have no mercy for rebels, as they call us, and especially rebel spies. I replied, General Washington, if you are willing to trust me with your message, I can convey your message to General Thomas without the possibility of discovery. I will commit it to my memory and carry it in my mind where none but God can find it. He said, yes, I am willing to entrust this secret to your safekeeping if you think you can commit to the memory and recite its contents for General Thomas, word for word, as it is written here. I replied, if you give me the message in 30 minutes by myself, I will convince you of my ability to commit it to memory. The general handed me the paper, opened a door into another room, and said, you can slide into the room and be alone as long as you need to memorize the message. I went in, shut the door, and commenced my task. Okay. So now we picked up on where we left off at on this, on page 9. So page 9, going forward. Okay. In less than an hour and a half, I came out and handed the paper to General, right, who was writing at his desk, and recited its contents to him 3 and 4 times over. He seemed highly pleased and said, Miss Wilson, you have every word in your head, but do you think you can remember this message clearly as you try to pass British sceneries and enter New York City by yourself? I answered, General, if you meet me 5 years from now and I cannot repeat every word, you may hang me for a spy. He laughed at my youthful confidence and said, no, I won't do that. So do you have a plan to make your way through the pickets of British lines? Yes, I said, countrywomen with marketing of any kind are freely admitted into the city to sell or barter their goods for whatever they want. I would dress myself as a farmer's daughter with a common calato or licensed wool dress. I would wear my youngest brother's shoes, of course shawled, over my shoulders, and a Jim Ham sunbit on my head, or a sunbonnet on my head. I would take a market basket on my arm with a couple dozen eggs, 2 or 3 pounds of butter, a couple cakes of homemade soap, and probably some other little trifles that I may think of. Then I will have no fear of being prevented from going where I please in the city. However, General, if you had a small token that General Thomas would recognize as belonging to you, I could take it and show it to him. That way he would know I am truly your messenger. The general remarked, Miss Wilson, that you are fully equal to this task and require no further instruction from me. When you return, please see me as soon as possible if you have a response from General Thomas. As for the token, I have here a little gold pencil given to me by a French officer in the presence of General Thomas in a general old house some time ago. Please take it, and I have no doubt that the general will recognize it at once. General Washington asked, do you need any money for your trip? No, General, I said. I do not want any money from you now. If I ever I take any, it would be when I take my harness off and not when I put it on. He smiled and said, very well, do as you please, Miss Wilson. I then rose and said, with your leave, I would now go home and be ready for my trip to New York City tomorrow. He approached and took my hand. I looked up to him and repeated the message while he held my hand. He said every word right. God bless you, and God bring your enterprise to a successful conclusion. Then he bid with me goodbye. So page 14. Yeah, you're doing so good. You're doing good at your drawing. Early the next morning, I was on my way to the city, and before noon, I approached the outer pigments of British Army. I stopped and asked the sentinels permission to go into the city with my marketing. The guard stepped up to me and asked where I lived and what had to sell. I showed him the contents of my basket, and he said I could pass on. But, okay. All right, sweetie. Yes, ma'am. You can go and get started on it. I'll let you. She went on and drawed her good old S. Hold on, Mama. Ooh, we done got all of this. We got to put some of these tops back on the markers right quick, sweetie. So the markers will not dry out, okay? Now, let's do colors and color pencils for your pumpkin. That you're only gonna get one. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let me see, because pumpkins are orange. Let me see if I can find a better orange one in here. I don't have an orange one in there. How about an orange crayon, Mama? How about orange crayon? Do the pumpkin. Yeah. Orange crayon. Alright. The guard stepped up to me and asked where I live and what I had to sell. I showed him the contents of my basket, and he said I could pass on. But before I got too far into the city, another red coat guard stopped me and asked me several questions, all of which I answered to his satisfaction, I suppose, for he told me I could go on and that I would have no further delays. Moments later, I overheard another soldier talking. He had been standing next to the second guard who had stopped me. He said to the guard, "She seems awfully well educated and well spoken for a market woman. Had you not better called her back and questioned her, examined her more closely?" "No, I think not," said the guard. "She is some farmer's wench that feels proud of being in New York City and carries a high head." Even though I felt offended by these remarks or these final comments, I made sure to hurry along into the city. I soon found the street in which General Thomas lived. Then I found his home and went to the door and knocked. Presently, the door was opened by a servant girl. I asked if General Thomas lived here. She said yes. Is he at home, I asked. And she said no. Is Miss Thomas? Yes, but she don't want any marketing. I have nothing to sell her, but I must see her. When she heard this, she tried to slam the door in my face, which I prevented by placing my foot against the door. She then went in, and I heard her say, "This is an imprudent country woman at the door who says she will not go away without seeing you." "Well," said Miss Thomas, "right, I'll go and see what she wants." With a stern look, she came to where I was standing, but the moment I said, "Madam, I have a message for General Thomas," her face relaxed its sternness, and she said, "You can hand it to me." No, madam. Okay.
Hi, how you doing?
Alright, I apologize. That was our new transition. He seemed very friendly, energetic. Good. So we got enough time. So it's 2 o'clock. So we're doing good on our book story. Want to take a break for a second and do some. Alright, we'll take a break from reading. It's 2 o'clock now. So we got enough time to finish these next couple of pages. So we're on page 15 and there's 26 pages, so we're doing good. Alright, well, she just writing on the little sheets, little small sheets they got her. Alright, good job, mama. Alright, so when she heard this, she tried to slam. Well, we already know, so we were at this one. So a few moments later, the general and his wife came in, and I told him I had a message for General Washington. He stared at me and looked rather, I would say, incredulous. Incredulous. I said, General Thomas, I have a token from General Washington to prove my honesty. And I showed him the little gold pencil. I continue, General Thomas, you know it would be dead to me to be detected as a spy. So you know, General Thomas, you know it would be death to me to be detected as a spy. So I have memorized a message for General Washington for you. Please take paper and pen and write down my words as I repeat them to you. Then you will have the message. Although he looked a little dubious, he got paper and pen and commerced to write as I dictated my message. When he was through, he looked the message over once or twice and seemed very surprised and even delicate with its contents. Then he wished to know my name, residence, and etc., and how I got through the guards with my disguise. I told him why I was dressed as he saw me and what I had in my market basket. The general asked Miss Thomas to take the contents of my market baskets and pay me market prices for them, as they had used for them all. Then he said I should buy some items in town to show the sentiments when I leave the city. Due to the late hour, I could not leave until the next day, so the general asked that I remained his guest until I was ready to go. He guessed, right? He guessed that I was probably hungry and said that tea would soon be ready. He asked me to make myself perfectly at home. I began to make some apologies about my clothing when he kindly said, Now, Miss Wilson, none of that. We know perfectly why you're wearing this catalytic dress and coarse shawl. It is exactly as it should be for this occasion. And we welcome you as if you were attired in the richest of the silks. Okay, so page 2, we're taking a break right now. Okay, Mama. Did you just throw something on the ground over here? Oh, okay. All right, so let's do a tracing. Shai. No more. Girl, you just... All right, today, let's do a... Let's move this a little closer now so we can look at the traces. Oh, no, ma'am. Oh, my gosh. Okay, we have to trace. So this is our tracing lines. Shahkahyah, don't start that. Now, we're going to have to... No. Shai, you can do it on here. Do not cry. Okay? Alright, so... we're going to do the trace the curves. So she's going to do the curves today. And it says curve the frog. So we're going to put Shahkahyah, your name, H, 10/31/2023 worksheet. All right, so let's work on your curves. Shasha, can you do this one? Here, crayon. What I want you to do, here, mommy got blue and you got red. So here, let's work on the crayon. Here, let me show you how to do it. Trace, you see right there? So now let's start right here. Right here. And we're going to trace one loop. There's another loop. And another loop. And another loop. Good job. Now we're going to start here. A loop. And another loop. And another loop. 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 Another loop. And another loop. I'll let you do that. Also, I don't mind anybody doing their job, but when it comes to like you're using authority to persecute someone or to have access to somebody to do something like wrongfully or wicked or just trying to provoke an altercation, that's totally different things. That's why you need discernment, and I see in the spiritual realm and I see through people. So I know when people are trying to provoke me with a title or trying to have access around me to do stuff. And I also know when people are being protective spirits and when God is sending somebody to be there. So y'all got to learn how to discern. Like I said, I definitely agree. Americans have not learned the way of God. And it's crazy because I gave them the word first. So they should have learned how to discern these things throughout centuries and be better in their positions and the power and authority than to like still be repeating the same things and trying to repeat the same things and do the same things toward humanity or God's children. One thing I say about this is I'll thank y'all for allowing me to have these moments with my daughter, because it seemed like this is a shame when we have to get to these points in society just for my children her to be protected and also for me to be a mother and nobody really interfering with that. It had to be brought to this point because now the system has to work for me, not me working for the system now. So the tables is turning. So I'm using everything that I can to possibly of what I know they will already do. So when I allow divisions to come forth for the officers to do what they do and everybody to do what they did, it was because, again, I can't stop the decisions that people are making, although I see it coming. But I can also change it in the midst for it to work out better for my behalf when it does happen. And so keeping my composure and wisdom through all of the discernity and the things that they have done, so later on I can prove my case. That's all I wanted to live to do that. I wanted to live to tell my side of the story, because oftentimes people can write, like you said, rewrite things, tell it from their perception, say this, and that, when nobody can really speak for me and how it felt for me to be in that moment in what I was exhibiting. So honestly, I'm not planning on ever living back in Alabama anyway, or Huntsville, but it's just a sad thing to know that system had came so corrupt like that. And like I said, I cooperated with it. Everybody had witnesses. My husband was there, so it was no reason he can't say that I'm lying on men. He witnessed it for the first in his own eyes. He can't say that I was doing anything or I provoked men or I didn't know. They couldn't lie to him anymore. Nobody could be lied to when it was out in the open. The white female that was having a biracial child or was with a black man did not get touched that day. And she was supposed to be 5 months pregnant. I was 8 weeks pregnant. And I was with a black man. But yet, and the other girl that was dating some drunken black guy did not be touched. The only one that was touched was the original woman in the midst of all of that. Why was that? Just ask yourself, why was that? Because I told one of the white drunken girls to be quiet. I told her, let the officer talk, be quiet so I can hear what he's saying. Because he was asking all of us for our ID. And I happened to have my ID packed away and tucked in my stuff, hiding somewhere because I did something I don't want to lose. It was personal information. And I think I had just got off of work or I was off that day. But anyway, I was working 2 jobs previous and then I went to start just working at the arena. I was working at the arena. But when they found out I was pregnant again, I was a liability or they'd make an excuse every time I worked while I was pregnant with her. I worked like 4 or 5 different places in 2 or 3 cities while I was pregnant with her. So trying to like have money ahead. So, but again, when you're pregnant as a woman, you can lose financial stability too. You can't really gain. So that's the argument that I'm trying to get them to understand as men. They don't have to bear that. So when I just woke up to nobody having human life and looking at human life in general, they cared about her human life. And she wasn't really even showing. She was just saying she was 5 months. Al couldn't show it 8 weeks, so I didn't think they believed me because I was 8 weeks. And I had just found out previous 2 days before that. And that's when I had the vision, like I said, a week before that took me to the hospital. And I made a public video about that. If y'all can go back and get the evidence and the data, sure it's around. Sure people was around at the time. I made it inside of the hospital parking lot, and I told them that she's gonna be a girl. Ain't no way I knew that at 8 weeks, unless I have a real power that communicates with me. Everybody knows you can't get an ultrasound at 8 weeks. You would not know the gender. So how did I know she was a female? Because I have not been lying. I've been telling them the truth about my power, but that's not my problem. They don't believe me. I was trying to stop these things from happening. But they wanted to fulfill this, so I allowed it to happen. So there's no more discussion of, like, what is what and who is what. So this is what it comes to, that I have to go through all of this just to have a peace of mind, to make sure my daughter is protected, and at the same time, I'm able to work to provide for her, and also I'm able to have my moments and, like, you know, teaching her and guiding her without people bothering me. And so I really like that in a sense. But yeah, so that's all I can say. I don't know why she was so genated. We had all went to the Chinese restaurant that following couple hours, and I don't really eat the Chinese food in America. I cook my own. The traditional way is way better anyway. And what they're cooking here is not real Chinese food. But anyway, they offered to take us or whatever. We went along with them, and they were talking about the KK. Then she was talking about her family and all this extra stuff, and I just kind of brushed it off because I was like, I seen right through her. She was just playing a simple role with him, just to like make him feel good about what he's doing with her. But I didn't say nothing about it. I guess she could tell that I really didn't want to be her friend, and it was not going to be no friendship. But like I said, him and my husband, they met. I don't know what they were doing around each other, but I just don't believe in like getting upset too bad. And then she gonna make a statement when they got into it with some people at the Sonic. Right after that, when we go to go get some ice cream, she gonna make a statement, say, "Wow, when my husband tell me to do something, I just go across the street." And my husband corrected, said, "No, my mom got her own mind. She don't have to go across the street if she don't want to. Like, she don't have to listen to your man." So he checked them right then and there. Like, that's not how this is going to work. You have your own man for a reason. I have my own man. So I'm not going to sit there and leave my man in the midst of the fire. If you felt okay with leaving him, and he could have got jumped because there was 2 or 3 men that was ready to be on him. And I didn't have to let my husband power or y'all use his power to protect y'all. I could have just said, you know what, let them deal with the stuff that they have accumulated in this city of hate, and we're going to get out of it, and we don't have to deal with it. So it was basically like trying to put us in a crossfire. But when I called it, I was like, Kendra, I'm pregnant. I can't be going through this. Let's just go. Leave these people alone. You just met these people. You don't even know who they are, where they come from. So it's like I be trying to get him to understand you can't be friendly with everybody. You can't be around because you know what type of karma they're in. You don't know what they have done before they came around. But I already felt it and seen it that it was a setup, and that she was working with the Alabama Police Department, and those white males that she was working with attacked me. So they had already known or had a code of that going on. We're new in that city. We're not born and raised there, so we didn't know that was a code going on like that. So that was the first time, but we happened to be in black skin, so I guess they thought, oh, well, maybe we were from Alabama, like, or all the other blacks was, and what they were doing toward them. And so they kind of equated us. But when they figure out like, oh, shoot, she really not from him and he not, then that's when they started, you know what I'm saying, getting afraid of what could be possibly known from the evidence of what they did. So thank God I got out of there and be able to get to the hospital to get her and not, you know, be stuck under all of that and got out of there. But yeah, it was a definitely trying thing on my spirit. And I hope, you know, we don't have any type of that going on anymore. But you live and you learn. You truly do. But that was the worst I ever seen it. I was like, oh my gosh. I did not know it was like that. And so that's when I started realizing what was going on, the connection between the family code in Louisiana, what was kept following me, what they kept doing. Stop, mama. No, you can't have that here. No. Oh, ma'am. And that's when I know they were after my firstborn daughter. So the whole time I've been dealing with a person that I feel like it was just a setup I hired to try to take my life from me. But it didn't work how it's supposed to be. Like if I was a dumb one or I didn't have my spiritual discernment, yeah, it would have took me just the same way as many other women. But the fact I seen it and I know what I'm dealing with a little bit more better, then it helps me like navigate a little bit through it. But anyway, the last vision or insight I got about the doors. Now with the building, it was literally the one I do work at do have see-through doors, windows, just like the old one over there at Chick-fil-A in Rochester that we were doing the interview at with the guy. Their building have see-through doors. So that's why I'm thinking like, okay, are they trying to target me and find out where I work at? I mean, I'm working around predominantly black. I don't know if, like, it's going to be an issue with that. I'm not trying to make it an issue. Not saying it is. I'm just letting people head up know. I don't know if they're planning on bringing a weapon to target somebody that they don't like at the workplace. Or I don't know if they're trying to set up something. But I don't feel like that in a physical form yet. I'm still weaving it through because I'm every day looking at it. But just letting y'all know to be on guard's head up, and maybe the officers be head up, but like looking around, maybe sure, you know, protecting that area where I'm at, like to just know, like make sure ain't nothing going on like that, or they bringing stuff to work or not going to try to harm somebody. Because like I said, there is a lot of black men that is probably hateful of this message too because of what he's standing for. Like I said, you know, something different, something they could have done, but they chose not to. So they can't fault him for just like, he can't be responsible for all their ignorance anymore. Like, nor can I be. That old covenant is just not something that I'm in particular. It's okay. You want to put this on here? Yeah. But I'll be praying about it, and hopefully it's not aim. I don't think it was aimed at me because it didn't make me feel like that in the vision, but it was like I was seeing clear from the visual of seeing the white hand. It was a male form that was walking inside of a see-through building. And like I said, the only thing I can put in physical that I have been around or energies is only 2 places so far that it could be physically. So I was like, oh, okay, something definitely going on. So I don't think that evil weakness gonna come to pass, but a lot of people conjure up stuff these days and lie. I don't know if that's their way of trying to like do things because they're afraid of me. Like I said, what I'm doing, I'm sure it's like game stalking and stuff, a lot of stuff going on. Like, I hate to be in this image because it's just like, it's a curse because people do not take me serious about not being black. I'm a Native woman. I can't be nobody else but me. I'm not being something I'm not. I'm actually being who I am, authentic. But they gotta be able to look past the image. That's not my problem anymore. I don't have a problem with my skin complexion. I don't have a problem with the way my features are. I don't have a problem with myself. I have a problem people stereotyping me and claiming and labeling me things that I'm not, or trying to make me subjected to things that is not of me. That's where the problem lies. Other than that, I'm pretty fine. I'm pretty okay. You know what I'm saying? But, or maybe one of them gonna get rid of some bad guys. I don't know. But I hope we haven't got to that point. So we're gonna put good job. We're gonna put good job on here. So let's finish the book real quick. So she's learning how to put her yeah, you're doing good. So she's doing the sticky glue. So she's sticking the glue. She colored some of her blocks and she's putting the sticky glue on there. And then we also got a cookie that we can share for Halloween. So let's finish the book up now. So now we're rambling a little bit. So a little counseling session. I do a little bit of explaining, you know, going over some reflective moments. For me, this gives me an opportunity. The fact that I'm only seeing her 3 hours each week, it gives me an opportunity to sit back and reflect on us and like do better and like get better at speaking and communicating with the public. And so it's allowing me to do that and also look back and I go home and tonight and just be like, oh, okay, you know, get to look at my daughter anytime I want during this process of, you know, developing and her being protected. But I'm going to say this. He didn't take her when I let him watch her in Wyoming for 30 days. I remember working overnight at the police station. You know, he would come visit with her. He had every opportunity then to run away with my daughter back to Louisiana or do something foul. He did it. He had watched her when we was in Pennsylvania a few times, and like when I needed to go. I mean, he's had access if he wanted to as the husband to take her and do things and do that with me. No, so I can't say that that's his motive of intentions. But my husband do make me feel like he's a police. He made me feel like he's an informant. Like he's gonna like you said, he's a good communicator. But when it comes to like he's always interrogating me, like he's like, oh, it's not my fault. I'm supposed to notice a change of my wife, or if she's not saying this or that. So he's very alert and aware, and that's a lot of times what women do not like for men to be like very aware of their steps. They're like, if I'm gone too long, or I walk out somewhere, he'll call me. Where are you going? What are you doing? Where you at? And I'm like, dude. So sometimes it can be possessive. Is what I'm trying to get him to see though. While maybe his flash relationships didn't work. Or sometimes it could be where, and also I'm trying to get women to understand his nature more. Sometimes he is just trying to be caring and considerate. And like I said, he's not dumb. He's very aware of what's going on. So they can misconception men too and think some of them don't know what they're doing. But yeah, so he's kind of like that. But this is why I'm trying to tell him where it's a thin line between possessiveness and jealousy. Like you got to learn how to let me breathe and have my freedom, because that's the main thing. Like you can't try to stop and do that when we got the children to deliver. And you have little girls, you don't have little boys. So there's a totally difference about this. So he has to understand that, like, you know, you can't just always be so much on your spouse each and every day, and you can't be jealous of their growth if it surpasses you or not. So you have to learn how, you know, to get along, because I can't just be that. You know, if you want a woman like that, you have to go find those type, but you can't get with a woman and then try to change her into what you feel like or what you want. That's not how the ideal works. So I just want him to do better at that part. Like, you know, it can't be possessiveness after a while, and it can't stop my financial growth or responsibility. So I'm trying not to allow that. So I'm just saying the good parts about it, where I don't feel like he's not that type of male. So some of them do that, some of them don't, but I'm only giving, of course, the truth. If there's something y'all weigh into why y'all feel like he shouldn't like or be around a daughter if that's what y'all scared of. Now, I mean, you brought that up. There is something to be worried about, especially if I'm trying to get out of the relationship for good. Then yeah, but I think this one is just basic. Like, I just gotta let time tell it, and we'll see how it progresses. But I do feel like when he feels like it's no hope left, or he just feels like it's just this and that, then maybe he'll try to do that or find out where I work at and do something. Maybe that's what it's saying. Like, I'm not sure, but that's just crazy. I don't see how people, like, no man is worth my freedom or me going that below for. Like, I just rather, like, and no woman should be too. Like, it's not, that's too much, that's danger love. I don't want that type of love. That's crazy. But like you said, why would a man want to let go the best thing that ever happened to him? Sometimes that is the struggle. Because some of them do know they can't replace the wife they're with or the person that's there. Some women are not. You know, it's just the truth. Some women are not replaceable. Some women are not, you know, you're just going to find again. So I know there's absolutely, and it's just like some men are not replaceable and you can find again, you know. I just think we need to appreciate human souls in general, that are valuable and that the ones that are there for us. So I always try to do that. Alright, so let's finish this off because we're getting to an hour now. So then he said he would like to return or send a message to return to General Washington if I would take the trouble to hide it in the same and secure place. I asked him to write it down and I would try to memorize it. He agreed and wrote down the message until we were told the tea was ready. While at the table, he said, I am afraid you will find it a hard task to memorize my message for mine. It's much longer than the Washington message. And that's another thing. He grew up in Mississippi, too, so he didn't ever be able to get his, like, high school diploma. I mean, prison, they don't really focus on, I guess, getting the prisoners educated for the world. Some of them do in Louisiana will, but in Mississippi, they just act like they could not educate him while going through that. So there is a lot of stagnant growth that he hasn't had from that. And like you said, the number one reason we all know to get yourself out of poverty is education and intelligence. So if you don't have a formal basic education and you're just working and doing things, you're not actually spending time. So I'm a firm believer of, like I said, it's better to be educated than ignorant. It won't hurt to get the people educated. And they did the right thing in the southern states. Y'all are absolutely right to educate the mother first. We absolutely thank y'all for being very honest like that, because they knew that there were certain whites inside of Jim Crows that didn't want people to be educated because it will create a society that's dependent on the system. See, they knew and calculated all this stuff. This stuff was not just overnight. No, this was calculated and planned for centuries, and this was an agenda. It was not something that people can just get themselves out of overnight, or it didn't happen overnight. So that's why I appreciate the real white families, regardless. Not all of them was great. They had their racism down in the South. Texas and Alabama, to me, y'all are neck and neck with that. But Texas, y'all have way more bloodshed that's going on. So what I'm saying is, like, it still was best to educate the mother first, because that is where those kids' are survival stand on, not the fathers. Because fathers die in wars, more dangerous jobs they do, just different things. So you have to make sure the woman is educated. So, but when you have too many prideful kings that exhorted themselves or made them feel like fathers, because they had the means to provide, or maybe a little standpoint financially, they felt like that's all they needed to keep a woman or keep a legacy going. And we know that that's not true. The only way to keep a legacy go is, like I said, the backbone of America is caregiving, nursing, education, teaching, the things that require women to have a little bit more involvement in. So really motherhood. So that's where I agree with, mainly more with them on down there. But other than that, both can be extremely radical, racist. Both can be a system of oppression. Don't get it twisted. But it is still better to be honest and at least work with the mother than to just deny her in general and make her be in so servitude to men. That's just absolutely inhumane. And the Southern people are not that inhumane in that way. So compared to what people have preached, taught, and what they know, I lived it, so I'm able to say until you experience it. So all that rhetoric of, like I said, all white people are evil, or all black people are evil, or all wicked people come from this place, that place. Totally need to understand that this is some people are genetically how they is and some people are not. Like, it just doesn't depend on your ideal of what you see life at through your eyes. There's more things and healthy people that's around, and no, they don't play to be our friend. They wasn't playing to understand, to like us. They literally got involved with us and to really try to understand what can make a better society, because they can't change the way we genetically come. We can't change the way their genetic come. But what we can do as both individual families, we can come together and make a good society for the children's sake and get along for the children's sake and do things that will help each other. That's what we can do. Now, we are in control of our humanity law in us all. Don't get it twisted. You have a choice to do right or wrong. Don't ever feel like you don't have that free will. You do. Nobody can tell me they can't. So it's just a matter of what you choose and what you want to settle for. So if you want to settle for something low in mindset like that so you can feel like you're this powerful, that's on you. But it's going to have consequences along the road. And just because you escaped it then, or maybe a few years, or maybe some centuries, doesn't mean you're going to always escape it. So you have to understand, don't get too comfortable into not respecting God's eye or existence. Yeah, I like this. You did good. So let's finish our book right quick. So I asked him to write it down, and I would try to memorize it. He agreed and wrote down the messages until we were told the tea was ready. While at the table, he said, "I am afraid you will find it a hard task to memorize. My message for mine is much longer than Washington's message." I said, it may be, right? Or it may take me a little longer, but I think I can memorize it. The general had finished his message, which nearly filled a page. He handed it to me and said that he and Miss Thomas had an important appointment in the city. This would give me some time to memorize the new message. They bade me goodbye till they showed, or goodbye till they should come back. Here. Okay, they were away for an hour and a half, and when they returned, I handed the general his written message. Then I repeated the message to him by memory. "That is a marble. You have it verbatim," or we'll say verbatim. "My dear young lady," said the general, "let us talk a little bit more in the parlor. And he led the way. "Okay, Mama, you got it." And I put good job on her little paperwork. I know, yes. You're doing absolutely. You ain't coloring on this book. Here. Yeah, you can go. She love to write. In the parlor, I noticed there was a piano. Miss Thomas noticed that I was excited to see the piano and asked if I played. When I said yes, she asked if I could play for them. So I sat down and played some popular patriotic pieces that were all the rage at that time. General and Miss Thomas were delighted and applauded. Then the general stepped to one of the front windows and looked through the partly closed shutters. My name is Shai. It starts with the letter S. You're pretty good, girl. Here, Mama. Don't you start acting up, man, when you don't get your way. She's moving in terrible twos, I think. Or she's giving a lot more expressions of, you know how it is when they get those terrible twos. This is going to be now we got to really shape and form her character now, because she's going to be having a lot of little outbursts, emotions. So now we got to learn how to teach her how to deal with that, but regulate that. Okay, then the general stepped to one of the front windows and looked through the partly closed shutters. He turned and examined. Miss Wilson, we shall soon have all New York in front of our house if you continue playing. Just look out in the street and see the crowd. However, I can see some British officers by their red coats, who may not relish the patriotic pieces you have been playing. Well, I said, I will play something more agreeable to their taste, and I struck up God Save the King, Britannia Rules the Waves, and other British favorites. Then, after a few palm tunes, I closed with Ode 100. After littering for a few minutes, okay, and hearing no more music, the crowd gave 3 cheers and dispersed very quietly. This was a great relief to General and Miss Thomas. They were fearful that some of the pieces I had played might anger the British officers and lead to trouble. We then retired again to the sitting room, and after partaking of some cake and wine, I went to bed for some well-deserved sleep. The next morning after breakfast, I said goodbye to my kind hostess, who very affectedly invited me to visit them whenever I visit the city. Where's the top? I left them with my market basket on my arm, purchased a little sugar, tea, and some other small matters, and hastened homework. I found no difficulty in passing the synonyms, and toward evening reached home. My family was relieved to see me unharmed and asked me all about my venture. The next day, I went to General Washington headquarters. After greeting me, he offered me congratulations on the success of my mission. Then I repeated the return message from General Thomas while he wrote it down. He said that he had no doubt that the message was correct. As I was about to leave, he said, "You must not go without dinner." It would have been impolite to refuse, so I had dinner with General Washington and 2 other American officers. After dinner, the general offered me several gold pieces for my valuable services, as he called them, but I refused to accept them and said, if my mission proves to be of any service to my country, I shall consider myself repaid. But if you will give me... I need to put this top on. There you go. All right. So, but if you would give me one of those small pistols on the counter as a souvenir, then I may have the pride of saying many years from now, this was given to me by George or General Washington. I would take the smallest. I would be happy to do that, he said. I just regret that I do not have a more valuable keepsake to give to you. He handed me a Spanish pistol worth about $3.60. Even today, I would not sell it for all the money in the world. And so, children, that is the story of my adventure as a spy for General George Washington. The wind and the snow have come down, and the fire is burning down. So I think this is a good time to go to bed. Sleep well, children. So I did. I like the little visuals. It's cute. So it says, this is Charles Carson's first book. He has no qualifications as an artist, writer, or publisher, but has sent and received secret messages for decades as a professor of primary care medicine at the University of Rochester School of Medicine. He and his crafty wife, Lisa, are the proud parents of one son, Brandon, who is not very good at keeping secrets. They live in a full house of projects in Rochester, New York. Well, thank y'all for blessing us with this nice little revolutionary girl. Also, yes, when I did have a small gun, when I decided to get one, when I got attacked by 2 dykes, one of them had a gun that lived next door to me when I was living in Alabama. I don't know. My husband, her story kind of varied, but anyway, I don't know. I don't know, out the blue, some girl, she had an issue with me, and absolutely, she was from Texas too. Anyway, so I ended up buying a gun after that because I said, you know what, maybe it's some real terror in the world. Maybe I should go try to get a weapon. I have no felonies or nothing like that. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll go get one. So I went to the pawn shop. They did the background check. Everything was good. So how is it their law system continues to lie? I didn't buy that gun from the citizens or illegal. I was legal to have one. Now I did not get my permit, and when I moved back to Louisiana, somebody got word of what I had. But anyway, like I said, how my mother would twist the law against me. So this is how my family had twisted the law against me, knowing that I didn't have a permit, but I wasn't gonna like do nothing with the gun, put it up, you know, until I could get a license for it. But anyway, they were trying to beat me to the punch to take my gun rights too away from me to protect myself. They were trying to do that too down there. It just been constant trying to stop me from doing something, because I guess the guilty conscience of what some people do with guns, which we have seen the effects that some people can't handle their anger and temper and they do things. But however, I've never pulled a gun out on nobody. I never pulled my gun out on nobody. I never tried to do anything to nobody with it. But unfortunately, my father lied, bared false witness to say I tried to do something with him, or like tried to kill him with my gun. Which that was just another excuse for the man to try to come and do something or engage me into physical or warfare and try to take my gun rights. That's just basically call it what it is. Like I said, they wouldn't be scared if they were doing the right thing. No, they were targeting women in that area too, not wanting us to have our gun rights. So again, how are they going to get out of that court case? How are y'all going to get out of that y'all was the ones that provided? So she had no choice but to take my gun, but they didn't give me my gun back when they released me, but they couldn't do nothing about it because, again, y'all legally let me purchase it. So how are you going to argue that, you know, about it? I just hate this. It just seemed like one betrayal out of another. People can't keep their mouth closed when they're in my life. And like I said, I don't trust her no more because she has gotten close to me, and it's always behind her or my husband that assists them get involved in my life, or it's been that type of thing. And I'm just done with facing problems because people can't envious way, jealous way, or they guilty conscience or whatever they got going on with their selves, and I got to get involved in it by being around them or by being part of it, like existing. I guess I don't want no part of it, but that was just wrong to do. So now they tried to like get another false accusation, so I can't go get a gun because now they're going to argue about the hospital stay that I have had. So you see what I'm saying? How all of these laws have definitely affected my ability to even protect myself when they're not protecting me. They have never been the ones to. But that's how it came to be. Also, I want to know what's going on with my grandmother. Her unexpected pass down there, I feel like was behind to get her home, and the little land she got now. I feel like there was another move of getting her out of this covenant so they can get more access to things. So, it's that unexpectedly death, that's still kind of crazy to me how that happened. But, oh well, she been living this long. I was saying that. But anyway, she had sent me, when I was in jail, I told you I got things so she was going to be all right. And I did that. She was tired anyway of living. She was 87. She was tired of this crap anyway. So she was like ready to go. So, and then like she gave me a warning she was going to cross over. So that's why I wasn't surprised. But it's a sad thing though. Like but it's been a definitely war between natives and blacks upon that land of our heritages ever since they came in our family. It's been hell. Good, ain't it? We won't be free until we let go of the lie. That's all I can say. And I have, and I healed until they recognized to walk away from that death covenant that was only formed because they were in a survival mode at the time. Our people was going through a lot. If we keep on making excuses to why we're still at their table because of that, and we're not forming our own families again and being better, then we're just doing the same thing. So there's nothing more to argue, right? Learn to stick together. Stop trying to let people play our part. Good. All right. So, thank you all for tuning into this session. I hope this was it was very productive and wonderful. And I finished writing her thing down for her. And we had our little cookie for today. Thank y'all. So y'all have a wonderful day.